Get in there,
Carbon Boy, go ahead.
I was waiting to be called on.
Who's that, Jim? Yeah, so Jim, if I were to ask you, so if you ask me that same question, I'd say I am my history and I am my potential moving forward. Because were it not for my history, I wouldn't have intelligence, I wouldn't have consciousness, I wouldn't be here. So our history is what shapes us, the choices we made are what shapes us essentially, I think. Shapes the personality and the individual.
Alright, Carbon Boy has a point about time that he would like to make. Carbon, please mic up.
I had a couple of points. Wing, what was your original question about time being linear? I lost my train of thought. I was ready to say something after you asked that question, and I can't remember exactly how you phrased it.
Oh, he was talking about free will. He was saying if you put yourself in a situation where time is not linear, everything it happens at once. What about free will in that situation?
Right. Here's an illustration. I have a small child. Okay? I have two empty bowls. I put both empty bowls in front of the child. I fill one bowl with rocks, and I fill one bowl with ice cream. Which one's the kid going to choose? And because I had foreknowledge of that, did I force the child to choose the ice cream? That doesn't depend on the kid. Using the 0.01% exception rule doesn't help the explanation. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. We all know the kid's going to pick the ice cream, but because we have foreknowledge doesn't mean we force the child to make that decision. So that's a coexistence of free will and predetermination. God exists outside of time. We think of time in linear terms. Okay? You can almost compare that to being on the street of the city and watching a parade go by. The only part of the parade that you can actually observe is the part that's in front of you. Okay? That's the present. God is outside of that linear timeline. He can see the beginning of the parade and he can see the end of the parade simultaneously. We are limited to the dimensions that we exist in.
Well, I really like that analogy. That's excellent. That's a really good way to visualize what we've been trying to talk about. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily it doesn't take away that free will element. Just because you can see the greater whole doesn't mean you don't have the choice during that process, which is possibly we have the string theories that say that there are multiple universes, and it's possible that each time you make a different choice, you have a separate universe you're going into, as opposed to if you had taken the other choice in the universe.
Okay, cool. I think that's okay with everyone, yeah? Next scene.
Sounds like a good plan, Wing. Good plan, Wingman. Take it away.
Okay, before you all say, I know that was Alex Jones, but he said a lot of cool things then, a lot of cool things. Slavery Incorporated, bidding for the CEO job, what do you make of it? I mean, I remember when I first started saying that to people, looking around me and saying, this is crazy, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, 15 days holiday a year, You know, this is working to the bone kind of thing. This is working people to the bone. And but we don't know any different. You know, we accept the reality that we inherit from birth. And like clockwork, we do the things we're told. We do the things we're told, you know. Yeah, that's the way they want it. That's the way the powers that be want it. Why? Because they benefit most from it, you know. I think we've all heard this kind of rhetoric before, but it's there's a lot of truth to it.
Okay, you know, it was Aristotle that said, happiness depends upon ourselves. We determine our own happiness, and if we're unhappy, it's something that we've made a choice to do, to be. You have the ability at any point in time to change your view, to be at peace with what is around you. You can take yourself out of that equation, just like Hitchhiker has. He found himself, you know, where, you know, he's gone and he's doing what makes him happy. And he's not doing something that's holding him back. He's free, and we all have the ability to be free. We just have to visualize it and do it. You just people sit on their thumbs and grumble and complain because they don't know how to step into action. But our happiness is truly in our own hands at any given time.
Oh yeah, I run across people all the time when I'm traveling. Even if it's not hitchhiking, it's traveling period. But mostly when I'm hitchhiking, that I'll get picked up by like a couple, like a young man and a young woman, and they're like, "Man, I wish I could do what you're doing. You know, just take off for a few minutes." I said, "Why don't?" And like the number one answer that comes back from people is, "Well, I have bills and this and that." You know, it's like, well, those bills, you're like that you generate those bills. Those aren't like bills that are, you know, they don't have to be there. You can just drop everything and go if you really, really wanted to. I mean, it's difficult for people with kids, with children and stuff, which I don't have. Just a furry little kid, my dog and stuff. But you know, if you're single or if your kids are even out of school, even or that, like what my dad did. My dad, when he retired, my parents got divorced. He took off. He lives in Costa Rica now. He's living pretty cheaply down there. You know, just doing. He's pretty religious, so he's doing his whole religious thing down there. But he's really happy doing it. You know.
If you notice in this life, we make our own choices. But the more you hang around with people with negative thoughts, your thoughts get pretty dark and negative yourself. And we've all known people like that. That every time you see them, I mean, life's negative, and boy, it just kind of rubs off. But if you hang out with the crowd that's kind of the positive thinking people, things just seem to go a lot more cheerful. In fact, your life's a lot better. It seems like things kind of come your way. But if you hang with that negative side, it's kind of all downhill. There's an extremely famous book. It was a bestseller. I cannot remember the guy's name. And it's called The Power of Positive Thinking. You can still get it. It was a big bestseller. If you read that book and if you used to run your life by that book, I guarantee you'd have a good life. I mean, we all have bad things happen to this life, but if you run your life that way, you'll have a good life. So I think that's the whole bottom line of everything. That's part of the choices we have in this life. We can make it good or we can make it bad. It just kind of depends with who you hang out with.
You know, that is exactly what I've been saying, Calvin. It's up to you. It's in our, and with that, tonight's episode of Exiled Truth, we have been discussing the philosophy behind Waking Life, or Walking Life, the movie. Wingman, thank you for sharing it with us, and I want to thank everybody here for participating and sharing your thoughts and your views and your philosophies in regards to the content of this film. And this has been an Exiled Truth production. Thank you and good night, everyone.